Here's a secret key, and the question is this: what is that one thing that you could do? And you ask yourself in the first person, what is the one thing I could do to get more listings such that by doing it, everything else would be either easier or unnecessary? Okay, think about it. What is the one thing I can do to get more listings such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And what comes to mind? What comes to mind?
Welcome to the Success with Listings podcast, where we help you get success in the real estate game the easy way. Now you can get off the roller coaster of feast and famine and out of the rat race of competing with every other agent in town. Hi, I'm Knolly Williams. I took over 1,000 listings during my first 10 years in the real estate game, and in this podcast, I show you how to have success with listings. Let's go.
Hey, what's up? It's Knolly Williams, and let me get to the right screen here. We're going to kick the webinar off in just a moment. We're actually waiting for a few more people to get in on the call. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the right screen. I'm going to put this into full screen mode. All right, how's that look? Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up on this end that looks a lot better than the screen I had earlier. Okay. All right, guys, you're in the right room. I'm Knolly Williams, author, trainer, national speaker, and boy, do we have a lot of ground to cover today. We're going to be talking about 10 listings a month. If you want to consistently get 10 listings a month throughout the rest of your career, you're in the right place. I'm going to show you how to do that today. Now, I'm fully aware. I love to learn. I learn from all kinds of places, and I always teach. You guys know I teach. Drink from many fountains. So I'm fully aware that there's a lot of material out there. A lot of material that teaches you how to get more listings, how to purchase this or how to get that. That's not what this is about. This is going to be a course that you will be able to use absolutely for the rest of your career. This training that you get today is going to be some of the most valuable training that you've ever received in your career. And I know that because I've taken my training to over 70 different cities. I've talked to real estate agents that have been in the business 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years plus, and they have shared how this training has transformed their lives and transformed their business. And there's a lot of ground to cover. Now, one of the big reasons I'm doing this is because I get a lot of inquiries for coaching. For about the past 18 months or so, I haven't had any one-on-one coaching slots available. So I really kind of gets me in the heart. I feel pretty bad that I'm leaving a lot of people hanging. And one of the biggest questions that I keep getting from people that want to coach with me, they want to sit down, just like we're doing right now. They want to sit down one-on-one. And the biggest question that they have is, Knolly, how do I grow my business? How do I get from where I am right now to where I want to be? And just taking sort of a case study or a generalization of what I'm seeing from many of my potential students, those that come to me for coaching that I have to turn away, unfortunately, they really want to know how to get from 20 listings a year to 100 plus. That's what you're going to learn today. So let's get right into it. You know, I travel all across the country. Here's some pictures of me going nuts. The one where I'm acting crazy with a big selfie with the background, that's, you know, me going nuts in front of a great group out of Cape Cod. This one down here is me teaching a class in Austin, Texas. This over here is out of New York. This one over here is another city in Texas. So, you know, I travel all across the country teaching real estate agents how to be successful. A little bit more about me. 96% of my focus has been on listings since I got in the business, since I got my license. Over 1,000 listings taken, and I still run a successful listing team. Now, what I want you to do is just relax. Shut off any distractions. If you got Facebook open, don't mess with Facebook right now. This is a time for you and me. This is a time that we're going to spend together so that you can start realizing the dreams that you got in this business for. Just think about it for a moment. Think about when you got your license. You know, you probably did something else before real estate. You got into real estate, you maybe had a little bit of fear, a little apprehension, but you did have some high goals. when you got in this business. Maybe you're brand new in the business. Maybe you've been doing this for a long, long time. Are you living up to the full expectation that you have set for yourself? Are you living up to all the potential that God has for you? I want you to, and in order to do that, I want you to slow down, relax, get into a relaxed state, free your mind, and just absorb the information that I'm giving you today on our time together. Now, you are going to get an 89-page handout. Those of you that stay to the end of the call or the end of the webinar, I'm so used to doing these on calls. The webinar thing, I love webinars, but I'm so used to doing the phone thing with my coaching. But you're going to get an 89-page handout, those of you that stay to the end of the webinar. Now, how do we know if you stayed to the end of the webinar? Well, believe it or not, in today's modern times, it's pretty crazy, but there's software that actually tracks when you log in and you sign up for a webinar. There's software behind the scenes that actually tracks how long each person that logged in stays based on how you signed up for the webinar. So it's kind of crazy, it's weird, but for those of you that do stay to the end, you're going to get an 89-page handout. It's going to be all the slides that I cover today on our time together. Now, I like to put God first, then family, and then business. I think that that's a very important principle. It's how I run my business. I run my business with biblical practices. If it wasn't for the Bible, I'd personally be lost. I've been studying the Bible since 1989, and actually teaching since then as well. Now, let's look at what we're going to learn. Very, very critical. 5 things that we're going to learn today: how to easily earn $250,000 or more a year, how to transition your core business to listings, how to win the listing before you meet with the seller. Did you realize that that's so critical today, that you've got to do that? Number 4, we're going to talk about how to earn more money and work less. You definitely want to do that for the sake of your family. And we're going to be talking about the 3 secret tools of a top listing agent. Now, here are the training modules. There's 5 of those as well. We're going to go in. First, we're going to start with the secret to how I took over 1,000 listings during my first 10 years in the business. Then we're going to get into the secret key to generating more listings. There actually are in my expanded training that I do. That's multiple hours of training. There's actually what I call the 8 keys. Today we're just going to cover 3 of those. I mean, we're not going to cover them all, in other words, but don't worry. You're going to learn how to get your 10 listings a month in this call, or in this time. Call, stop saying it, call, during our time together, all right? The third thing we're going to talk about is the secret tools of a mega listing agent. Then we're going to get into the secret lifestyle of a mega listing agent. And finally, we'll look at the secret lead sources of a mega listing agent. Let's dig right in, and let's start with part 1. And this is the secret to how Knolly took over 1,000 listings during his first 10 years in the business. Now, when I first got my license, when I first got in the business, it was kind of a tough time for me. I had just lost everything. Okay, I just went bankrupt. Have you ever been in a place where you've lost everything? I've been there. And it was not a good place to be. Now, rewind a little bit from there. When I was 22 years old, I started my first official company. Now, if you talk to my mom, she'll tell you that I've been an entrepreneur since about 12 years old, and I've sold stuff. I'd go to school, and I was the guy that I got $5 a day lunch money. And that was pretty good back in the day. And I would take that $5 and I would go to the corner store and I would purchase as much candy as possible. And I would take that candy to school. I'd purchase, packs of candy, Starburst, Now and Laters. Y'all know about Now and Laters, huh? You might know about those. And I'd break them open and I'd set them up on my desk, and I was open for shop. Business was being conducted. And I'd sell them for about $0.10 each. So I could take a pack of Starburst, it might have had 12 pieces, break that out, might have cost me 30 cents, 40 cents, and break that into $1.20. So what I really enjoyed learning during that time, from the time I was about 12 till really till I started my first real business at the age of about 22. I like the process of profit. I like to take something and quadruple or maybe even do 5 times what I spent on it. Now, when I was 22 years old, though, as I got older, I wanted to be in the music business. I wanted to be a rapper. And I had, at the time, I had accepted Christ. I'd become a Christian. That was in 1989. I was into a lot of crazy stuff as a juvenile. I was kind of a wayward kid, hanging with the knuckleheads, the no-gooders. And what happened at the time was that my uncle invited me to come live in Texas. At that time, I was living in Los Angeles, right? And I was around a lot of the bad environment. My uncle invited me to come live in Texas for a little while. I said, you know what? I'll come visit Texas, but I'm not moving to Texas. Now look at me. Got the cowboy hat, got a little southern drawl and everything. I've been here a long time. I moved here in 1988 when I was 18. And I've been here for many, many years. God's been good to me, though. My uncle was in the music industry. I told him that I wasn't going to move here for good, but what I would do is visit for 3 months. Well, what happened is I just never left. Got married, started my family, and just moved on from there. Now, when I was 22 years old, I still had, like I said, dreams of being in the entertainment business, so I did start my first business. It was a record label. I started that company with $1,800 that I borrowed from friends and family, grew it to where it was earning over $2 million a year. We were earning over $150,000 a month in that business. We had a 6,000 square foot home. It was on a 7-bedroom house on 10 acres. The pond on the property was over an acre. Just the pond itself was an acre. Had a 1,500 square foot office building, a 1,200 square foot recording studio on the property as well. We had 18 artists on our record label. We had 12 employees that were employed for our company. And my wife and I, we pretty much lost everything. When the music industry imploded, like everything just went, I say, to hell in a handbasket, we were a casualty in that situation. And we went from making 150 grand a month to making nothing. In fact, we were making our mortgage payment, our monthly mortgage payment, on an American Express card that we had borrowed from my sister-in-law. Now that's rock bottom. And this was around the time when I started thinking, what am I going to do next? Now, those of you that have done something before real estate, you're tracking with me because when you got into real estate, you're like, is this what I should be doing? And I was kind of in that mode. I was like, okay, I want to get into real estate. My heart's set on this, but is this going to be my next career? Is it going to be successful? I don't know. But I had the fortune of reading The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, and I was able to get a copy of that book, and I read it twice. This was in 2003. I read the book when it was first released, and I read it twice before I even started practicing real estate. And one of the things that I'll never forget that I read in that book was Gary said, there are so many reasons to devote and focus all, of your attention, or to devote all of your attention and focus to marketing and generating listings. And when I read that, I said, you know what? Gary says I should do this. I don't have another strategy, so that's what I'm going to do. And so I devoted 100% of my time and attention to nothing but listings. I was able to take 21 listings during my first 74 days in the business. And the way I was able to do it, I ran across a huge secret, and I want to share that with you. It's something that I learned in the entertainment business. And that is, if you can make someone famous, or you can make someone a star, if you will. Now, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but if you can get them some kind of notoriety, everything else that you do will be easier for you. And so what we would do, for example, in the entertainment business, is if we had a new artist, we knew that in order for that artist to sell, records, CDs, in order for them to move product, people had to know about them. You know, they had to know who they were. And this was back before YouTube. There was no Facebook. There was none of that. So how did we get these artists out there and make them known? You know, the internet was barely coming in, right? Because I started the record label in 1992, and we ran it till about 2003. That's when I made the switch to real estate. And what we discovered was that if you could create the right branding behind an artist, you could really get that. Now, they had to be good. Don't get me wrong. When people heard the music, I mean, it had to be, you know, it had to be good. But if we could get the packaging right, believe it or not, if we could get the packaging right, we could sell. And we learned that we had about 3 to 5 seconds from the time that a customer saw the packaging from the time that they would maybe pick it up. And so our goal, get this, and I want you to think about this. Our chief goal and our chief aim was to get someone to pick up the CD off the shelf. That's it. We were not interested in trying to get them to buy it or anything like that. We just wanted to get them to pick it up because we knew that if we got them to pick it up, the chances were very, very likely, very high, that they would potentially purchase. And we would create the packaging in a certain way where it would really draw them in to where at least they would want to go to the demo station. Back then they had demo stations. They didn't have iTunes, okay? Gotta go back there with me. There was no iTunes, so the way that you would hear a new CD is you would go, you would just kind of browse around, and then if you saw one that you thought you liked, or even back in the days with vinyl, if you saw a record that you thought you might like, you looked at it, and then you would just kind of go by the artwork. As crazy as that might sound, you actually are selling music based on the way the artwork looks. And the thing is that I learned is that the buying habits of your prospects and your clients has never changed. People buy things based on the packaging. And so I'm going to share some of the secrets that I learned from my entertainment business days, how I incorporated that into the music industry. So just kind of picture that in your mind, that's sort of the way the music industry works. We would try to get them to pick up the CD, and then we would have maybe a 3 to 5 minute window from the time that they saw the CD to maybe pick it up, and then we would just try to pull them in and get them over to what they call the demo station, where they would actually listen to the material and then they would fall in love with it. See, one of the challenges that you have right now, if you're not getting all the listings that you want, is that your packaging might be a little bit, right? We're going to work on that today. We're going to get it up to snuff where it needs to be. If you sit down, see, if you get in front of a client, you probably don't have very many problems. I mean, in other words, you're great, you're good at selling, people love you, and people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So you get them to know you, you get them to like you, you get them to trust you. You don't have a problem with that. But how do you get more at-bats? How do you get in front of more people? Well, you do it. How do you get them to pick you up off the shelf and at least take a good look at you and maybe demo you out? Well, you do it by having the right packaging. That's what we're going to talk about throughout the duration of the rest of our time together. So that's just a little bit of background about me. But again, what I'll tell you is that the secret to how I took over 1,000 listings really boils down to the packaging. Now, once people get past the packaging, they love the product. I mean, it's just the outside. Like you say, don't buy a book, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, guess what? People are judging you by your cover. And depending on how your cover looks, that's going to determine whether they pick you up and decide to read you, right? And take you home. That's the way it works. Now, let's get into part 2. We're going to move kind of right along because we got a lot of ground to cover. In this part, we're going to talk about the secret key to generating more listings. The secret key to generating more listings. And here's the secret key. And the question is this: what is that one thing that you could do? And you ask yourself in the first person, what is the one thing I could do to get more listings, such that by doing it, everything else would be either easier or unnecessary? Okay, think about it. What is the one thing I can do to get more listings such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And what comes to mind? What comes to mind? Well, the way I answer that is this: become famous. Become famous. Become well known. I don't want to have any secret agents out there. I want you to be a known agent. And what that means is that everyone in your area should know who you are. That's what we're going to learn today. Because if people don't know who you are, you don't exist for them. You should be well known. And by the way, being well known and being famous doesn't mean that you have to be haughty, arrogant, proud, boastful. You know, Jesus was well known. He still is, by the way. And he has none of those qualities. You know, he has none of those negative qualities. So you don't have to be, a hothead to be well known. Everyone should know who you are because you have a commodity, which is yourself, that they should be purchasing. Absolutely. So how do you do that? How do you become more well known? Well, what I want to share with you here are the 3 secret tools to connect with your sellers and really set you apart.
Well, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Success with Listings podcast. If you are serious about taking your real estate career to the highest heights, making more money and helping more clients while working less hours and spending more time with your family, be sure to get your copy of my free book, Triple My Listing, absolutely free at successwithlistings.com. Now, you want to be sure that you subscribe to the podcast and check out successwithlistings.com to get your copy of my free book. Hey, I'll see you on the next one.